Cupcakes, a sweet treat. I want to know how the idea was born.
She's the mind behind the cupcakes. I'm the mind behind the business.
Okay.
So you can tell them a little bit about your passion for wanting to, show your creativity through cupcakes. But it was the little light bulb in my head that said we can turn this into a business and not just a hobby. So
yeah, because I was just looking for an outlet, something fun, get out of the house. I was raising 3 kids and Jim was working full time, and I was like, I want to do something. So did farmers markets and little wholesale, and then things changed.
my position not only took me away from the house a lot. There were many times when I would leave on a Monday, come home on a Friday type thing, and being home with 3 kids. I think she put it lightly of I needed an outlet, but again, the creativity that she had to do it, I didn't even know existed, to be honest. But then when the recession hit, I worked for a national company that was on the ropes prior to the recession, and then the recession was just that kind of final nail that said, your days are over. By that time, I think we were in 3 different farmers markets because we had expanded to Lakewood and Stillicum and Puyallup and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, just as a hobby, nothing more. But it became a lifeboat. And I said, let's see what we can do. We didn't wake up one day and say, hey, we're going to quit our day jobs and open a cupcake shop. It didn't happen that way.
Who came up with the name? Because the simple question of want a cupcake is always yes, right?
Our oldest daughter did.
Yeah, we had a family meeting around the dining room table and we said, hey, we're going to start a business. And it was really the back of an envelope at that point. There was no idea, there was no anything. And I had a laptop up, and every time somebody came up with a name, I was on GoDaddy and I would see if the domain was taken. And for about an hour and a half, we bantered around ideas, and I finally said, look, what would somebody call a business if they wanted a cupcake? And our oldest daughter said, how about want a cupcake?
Who was 11 at the time.
And she was 11 at the time.
That's great.
We started subletting a place that was much closer to home here in Puyallup, and then that place became the walk-in carry-out place. It was an open kitchen. Everybody can come in, see everything we did, because all we did is put up a counter. The kitchen we were baking in, and we put up a counter, and then people would come in and buy, and there was no seating, there was nothing else, it was cupcakes. And then in 2016, we said we're going to move to a larger suite and expand the menu. If you said, hey, I want to do cupcakes, and that's all we do, you'll eke out an existence, but you won't really grow a business, and you won't be able to really thrive. And I said, if you stick with just cupcakes, people come in for cupcakes maybe once every couple of months when they have an event, or they come in once a month, maybe if they have a sweet tooth. So we needed to add a draw for them to come in more frequently, which is why the espresso bar went in, and the seating, and the cookies, muffins, scones, so that people would come in twice a week versus twice a month. People ask all the time, Carrie, where'd you learn to do this? And she has 0 formal training.
Yeah,
all
School
of
of Hard
was,
Knocks.
Yeah, all of this was self-taught. And some of our people have gone to a culinary school or whatever, but it's definitely not a requirement for this job. You have to have a passion for what you're doing. I mean, you need to love, baking and seeing flour turn into a product, or working with people, because people are coming in during events that are important to them, weddings, anniversaries, child's first birthday, gender reveals, and all of that. So you've got to love sharing that part with them. Customers will come in sometimes and say, I've always wanted to own a bakery, or I've always wanted to work in a bakery. Are you hiring? And I said, what you need to do is get up at 3 in the morning, 6 days a week, and go in your kitchen in your house and bake for 9 hours. And stand, don't sit. And do it even when you don't feel like it, and do that for 2 or 3 weeks. And if you still love it as much, then come back and talk to me. Because, sometimes people will think, oh, I love to bake, I would love to own a bakery. Yeah.
Not many return, huh?
Yeah. It's having a passion for baking when you want to do it, or for your kids, or for your family. That's one thing. Getting up and doing it for a living takes a special person to do that.
I think all businesses have aspects to them that people find unpleasant. It doesn't matter what you do in your life, and you're just trying to figure out something that you kind of sit on the other side of that, where there's something about it that draws you in and keeps you there when the times are difficult, which are a lot. I think of that just with our own company, that there are more times, I would say, than not when it's unpleasant. And people say, well, then you're in the wrong business. I say, no, I think it's just life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Life is hard, and particularly running a company is hard, and it can be quite unpleasant. And so for various reasons, but when you talk to people who own companies, I find that pretty consistent.
We've been through hard times with our business. When we first started, I would wake up and go down to the kitchen, and it was me, myself, and I baking and decorating.
Yeah.
And then Jim would come relieve me, and he'd sit at the counter. And those were hard times because, we weren't bringing in a whole heck of a lot of money at the time. And that was our sole source of income.
Mm-hmm.
And so that drove us to be better. And eventually we hired one assistant baker,
Wow.
and then one decorator, and then one baker. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I think this business for us has been different each year,
Mm-hmm.
and there's different struggles each year,
Sure.
but there's great benefit too to keep going.
I mean, there's nobody in business that if you said, have you ever wanted to quit? And they say, nope, I never wanted to quit. They're lying to you.
Right.
They're lying to you. It's either I wanted to quit because I've hit a brick wall and I don't know the answer to this problem. What we found because of the way we started business, I mean, some people get into business because they jump. Some people get into business because they were pushed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a combination for us. We've always wanted to do a business, but I had a good job. She was raising 3 kids. Things were good. So, life took over and you blink and 10 years later, you still haven't started that business. And then when that recession hit, people said, what are you doing starting a business in the middle of a recession? It was risky, but for us, we knew it was the right thing to do because we really didn't have a lot of alternatives. And so many of those times when we wanted to quit, we'd look and say, well, what else are we going to do? And we'd say, well, we don't really have another option. So we'd get up the next morning and then we'd just go at it again and keep trying and keep pushing and how can we make it better and what can we do to bring more people in and so on and so forth.
I do
So-
blame him though for this whole business. Well, because
Yeah.
when it's just yourself baking in the middle of the night, you realize this is hard work. You're up at 2 a.m. washing dishes in a kitchen and rented, and you have got to drive back to Bonnie Lake to go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and then get up in the morning. And when he said we're doing this full time, I was like, "You're crazy," but it really worked out
And
well.
that's, I think, one of the things that made it work. Not only made the business work, but kind of made the marriage work as well. As we play off each other, we play off each other's strengths. I mean, she does things in this business that I can't do,
And vice versa.
and I bring some business acumen to the business that she doesn't necessarily have. So the combination of that, I think, is what made it work.
That's
When
right.
you are owning your own business, you're working for the people who are working for you.
That's right.
You're working for your customers. You're working for your employees.
Something that I always find when it comes to consultants and people in business is, for me personally, I love the stories of people who are in the grind. So like your story, you're running a company and you're sharing about what it's like to run a company. Sometimes when you hear things from consultants or people that do it for a professional living and then speak to it, sometimes I dilute that a little bit because they're not in the daily grind. They're just a really good speaker, which has its own talent and its own merit.
Right.
But when you talk to someone who's actually every day gets up,
Faces the problems of the day.
yeah, and looks at their people and says, okay, how are we going to get through this? Or something comes that's catastrophic, like COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to make incredibly painful decisions for your company. I love talking to other people who are doing it with you because you learn a lot from each other about how people were able to work their way through. And I think something that we have in common as business owners is the element of perseverance and sacrifice.
Well, the goal in the beginning was to put food on the table.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
we were in survival mode in
Yes.
the beginning. It was, okay, this is what we've got. This is, and you don't have time to think about, well, how did the fire start and why did it start and how do we prevent it next time and what? You just like, we need to put the fire out. We need to get out of the fire.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do. So for the first few years, that's what we were in. We were in survival mode and we got to keep this thing going because, it's our income and it cannot fail. And that's what we were in. And then once this, you're past the storm and then you can look back and you can say, okay, what happened? How did we get there? How do we not get there next time? Our goals now are very different than they were when they started the company. When we started the company, it was, we want to we want to survive, and then we want to provide back to the community, and we want to give opportunity to people to have jobs. We do want to grow the company, and but we want to do it because we want to provide opportunity to other people and help business owners who, I love to bake, but I have no idea about business. Great, let us help you. You know, that's kind of where our passion is right now. She'll teach the tactical side, and I'll teach more the creative, this more strategic side, and we get there.
Thank you so much for coming in today. I loved your story.
Thanks for having us.
And I wish you all the best luck in
Thank
your
you.
franchising and the future of your company. We're excited for you. We're going to love watching you and cheer you on. So
Thank you.
thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah.
Thank you.